Our sponsor today is GLSA. For those non-members who may be dropping in on the call today, GLSA, or Group Legal Services Association, is an affiliate of the American Bar Association. It's a professional membership organization representing the legal services plan industry and provider attorneys. And joining GLSA is just a good way for solos and small firms to increase their business. Check it out at glsaonline.org. Also, as a reminder, if you haven't already, remember to register for GLSA's and GP Solo's Scottsdale Conference. It's coming up May 17th through the 20th, and it'll be in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's 4 days of CLEs, great speakers, mixers, networking, and a lot of fun stuff. So remember, you have until April 26th to save $100 off registration. So register today. My name is Tom Martin. I'll be your host. Our teleconference today is about how to maximize your exposure with conferences, blogging, and social media. Today, I have the distinct pleasure to interview Sam Glover, a guy who I really admire and who has one of the best jobs in the world. He's the founder and editor-in-chief of Lawyerist.com. Sam helps lawyers understand the economic, demographic, and technological changes shaping the present and future of small firm law practice. Visit Lawyerist.com for more information, ideas, and discussions by and for solo and small firm lawyers and legal service providers. So Sam, I just wanted to give you the floor, and if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and
Hey,
Lawyerist.
well, you've hit the main points. I like to keep my intro nice and short. Yeah, Lawyerist is it's an online magazine and an online community of lawyers, and mostly small firm lawyers is our target demographic. And we try to help lawyers build better law practices by talking about those changes that you mentioned. That's the main focus of the site. We try to provide resources. We distribute a newsletter. We have our own podcast, which is why I have a nice microphone I get to talk through right now. It's a real. I agree. It's an awesome job. I really love doing it, and we are trying to grow and expand the ways that we help and the resources that we offer to lawyers who are starting their practices or trying to take them to the next level. We're not a coaching organization, but we are trying to provide tools, information, books, all that kind of stuff.
And how long has Lawyerist been around?
We were just talking about that yesterday. I think we formally started the business. We being Aaron Street, my business partner, and who owns the other half of Lawyerist, and I. I think we actually formed the LLC in 2009, maybe it was 2010. But the earliest post on the site is from 2007, and I think it's about Fastcase, if I'm not mistaken. And it was me griping about how it isn't fast enough. So Ed Walters and I are now friends, and I remind him that my first post was griping about his product every once in a while.
That's funny. So as a solo and now a small firm owner myself, I can vouch for the value of Lawyerist. It's just has really great information and a lot of valuable and helpful ideas for how to better run a law practice. I'm really interested in hearing a little bit about your origin story. How did you and Aaron, meet up and found Lawyerist?
Really, because I started it. It was originally called Solo Small Tech, and I started it because I needed a place to gripe about legal software that was driving me crazy. And at the time, I had just started my law practice at the end of 2005, so I'd been practicing for about a year and been wrestling with legal tech at the time. And back in 2006 and 2007, most of the software available was local install or server install. It was clunky. It looked like it had been designed for Windows 3.11, and I hated it. I just hated it. And so I got really frustrated, and I needed a place to rant. And I've always been a writer, and I've always built websites since that was the thing that you could do. And so I built a website and I started writing about it, and it attracted a small following. But after a while, I decided Solo Small Tech was the wrong name. And my wife helped me come up with Lawyerist. And We were basically copying Consumerist, which was a website that I wrote for in connection with my law practice. And then a little bit further on, Aaron was looking for a new project and sat me down and said, "Let's turn this into a business." And so we did, and our traffic, doubled the day we launched it. And ever since, we've been trying to grow the site, and we don't really focus on traffic anymore. We focus on other things, but it's just kind of it really did just sort of take off, and it's been growing steadily ever since. We're the only two owners. We haven't taken any investment yet, and that's kind of the origins of it. And over time, we've tried lots of experiments, just like we urge lawyers to do, and we've tested them, and some of them have worked, and some of them haven't, and they've gotten us to where we are today. And we're just trying to move things forward. The experiment we're doing right now, which is working just really, really well, is one that you helped us with, actually, because you were one of the first attendees at TBD Law, our conference and partnership with Matt Homan and his filament.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, and so we're really excited about that, and we're just starting to get ready to do our third one. So,
well, that's pretty impressive, Sam. I know you've helped a lot of people, and I really enjoyed that conference. It was a great opportunity to meet with a lot of people with the same types of legal tech interests, and that's kind of a rare opportunity. Well, it's becoming a little more common lately.
It is.
but
more and more people are coming out of the woodwork and acknowledging that things are changing.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it's also, by the way, one thing that we're going to be talking a little bit at the GLSA conference that's coming up in May.
Cool.
About the future of the industry too. All right, so the first thing I wanted to talk to you about was, conferences. And as you know, a lot of our membership, they're solo and small firms, just like your audience with Lawyerist.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that probably to the vast majority of solo and small firm lawyers, there's just a myriad of opportunities in terms of conferences to go to.
Yeah.
And sometimes it could feel overwhelming. And probably the biggest question in the mind of solo and small firm lawyers is it worth it? It takes time away from the office. You're not, doing the immediate work that seems to never go away. And how would you respond to that in terms of whether or not conferences are a worthwhile thing?
I mean, I think, the purpose of this is to talk about, marketing, but and promotion. But I think one of the most valuable uses of conferences, and I guess, well, let me set aside, if you really need to know the kinds of things that you can learn at a conference, then by all means go to the conference and learn it. But I'm going to go ahead and assume that most people who are now at a position where they can afford to fly around the country going to a conference or spend all day at a conference are not in need of the sort of remedial classes that you usually get at a conference. Sometimes the updates on new stuff or the strategy sessions are super worthwhile, but most conferences are regurgitating the kind of entry level stuff that you can learn on your own or locally. So I think one of the reasons to go is to sort of reinvigorate yourself for the work that you do. My solo practice and small firm, I guess it was not just solo. I sued debt collectors and I defended people who were sued by debt collectors, and it was exhausting. The defendants were trying to put my firm out of business, and I was trying to put them out of business, and it was just it was a slog every time. Nobody ever just said, okay, well, we'll be happy to settle. that happened maybe twice. It was just not what I was used to, and so you really got worn out. And going to the annual NACA conference, consumer law conference, was a nice break from the day to day. And it also reminded me why I do this, what I love about it, because I would come into contact with other lawyers who were enthusiastic about their consumer practices and things like that. And so I loved going to sort of reinvigorate my practice. And I also I would go to some sessions, but I also tried to spend a lot of my time meeting and networking with other consumer lawyers around the country, because there was one, because I could use resources, people I can bounce ideas off of and difficult cases off of, but also because I wanted to just potentially earn referrals from them. That was a kind of practice area where somebody in Texas may have a case that needs to get sued out in Minnesota. And if
Mhm.
they know me, they might refer it to me. So there were a couple of benefits there. Um, the other benefit that I didn't experience there, but I have since, is in speaking. If you can speak at a conference, you will earn referrals. You'll earn people will want to meet you and network with you that can become potential referral sources. And so I think, no matter where you are in that conference world, it can be really beneficial, because that's where the great networking comes, I think. And if you go with that in mind of, I want to meet people and make friends, you're going to have, if you go with a stack of business cards, like, you're going to be the one that everybody tries to avoid. But if you go and you try to make friends, you will. And that is going to help your practice in the long run, one way or another.
So what I hear is that for you, the conferences, they help to reinvigorate you, that you get to meet with people and meet new people, and get to speak at that, and also get the recognition of speaking, and that could possibly lead to referrals.
Yeah, I think when I am prepping for a conference now, and obviously my objectives as as a as a as a publisher and business owner, that is, I'm not a practicing lawyer anymore, so like my objectives going to a conference are a little bit different. But I think
Mhm.
I would prepare in much the same way. One, like, obviously my goal, I love to speak at conferences. And so if I'm able to get a speaking spot at a conference, that's awesome, because it's a great icebreaker. Everybody feels comfortable approaching you after your session. People like to talk to you about what you talked about. It's a chance to, be a thought leader, as much as I want to pinch myself whenever I say that, because I hate that term, but but it's true and it's a real thing. So being the authority, whether it's in a subject matter area or in some other way, is a really valuable thing. So I always try to speak if I can. I try to get an idea of who's going to be there beforehand, and some conferences are good about that. Like, I just got back from Codex Future Law Conference out in Palo Alto, California, and there they actually distribute the list of attendees when you walk in, which is nice. So you can kind of go, okay, here are the people I want to make sure I meet here. But I always go to every conference with a list of people who I hope to meet there, just to help me remember, and give me an objective. Because I don't, I know people who like go into a conference like with the objective is, let's try and figure out how we can help each other, or maybe we can be referral sources for each other. And I hate that artificial BS. In Minnesota is a very passive aggressive place, right? And so people are always telling each other, "Oh, we should hang out more," and then they don't really mean it, and then they never really do. And
Right.
I feel like that's sort of a similar, like, maybe we can refer business back and forth. What you really are saying is, I hope you will send me business, and I'm probably not going to think about it again. Um, which I think is kind of lame. I go in like, I want to meet people and I want to make friends. So you're much more likely to find me asking somebody all about what they're doing, not because I'm trying to learn whether or not I can send them business, although I'm happy to if I have an opportunity, because I want to find out about them. I like to learn about people. I like to make friends. And you're more likely to see me sitting at the hotel cafe or bar and having coffee or drinks with somebody and chatting with them and trying to get to know them, because that's what I do. That's what I go. So my goals are speak if I can. I try to figure out who I want to meet going in, and I'm open to meeting anybody that I already know thinks I ought to get to know, and I take that home with me. And I think going to sessions, if there's truly information you want to know, is great. But if you read a session description and you're like, I already know all that stuff, then don't go. Go do something more valuable with your time.
Mhm. So what I hear you saying, like, I mean, the way I'm synthesizing it is that, if you approach a conference with kind of this cash value, mentality, that ultimately you're going to be frustrated by it, because that's just not what it is. But if you approach it with more of a, college campus kind of mentality,
Totally.
where, you know, where there's just these people that are cool and you want to get to know, this group and that club and that kind of thing, that not only what I'm hearing is not only will you not have that kind of frustration, but you'll get more out of it, and ultimately you'll probably have a better introduction to people, so they're more likely to think of you in the future.
Yeah. I mean, this betrays my whole bias about conferences in general. Like, I mean, you've been to TBD Law, so you understand what we are trying to do, but like the whole genesis of that was us, me and Matt and Aaron in particular, realizing that our favorite part of every conference we've ever been to is the conversations in between sessions. Because you can watch somebody speaking on a subject on YouTube, or you can watch it in your state CLE provider's back catalog of on-demand webinars. Like, you don't need to go to Florida or Phoenix to listen to somebody talk about a subject, because you can get that information just about anywhere if you want it. And
Mm-hmm.
so, our whole thing was like, and the other piece is you tend to meet the most interesting people who are other people in the audience. Sometimes you get to meet the speaker and actually make a connection with the speaker, but you definitely get to meet other interesting people there. And so we wanted to try and have a couple of days of the kinds of really inspiring, engaging conversations that we always had in between sessions, or at the bar afterwards, or at the breakfast table. And so that's what we did. And we subtracted the speakers and, carefully curated the group of people. And I think you can do that yourself at just about any conference by focusing on the really good and valuable parts. So you're right. Like, this is not, an ROI thing in the same way that your friendships aren't an ROI thing. If you make friends, if you raise your profile, if you meet people, you're gonna earn referrals. And it's not a calculator equation. It's a sort of a social equation.
Okay, so have a plan, know who you want to meet, and just try to get the most out of it without making it an ROI event.
Yep, and have fun. If you don't have fun, there's no point.
Definitely. I'm totally with you with that. Um, okay, are there any conferences that you've gone to recently that stand out? You mentioned
Yeah,
Codex.
I loved Codex. Codex is not a conference I would recommend if you're just hoping to learn about technology. It's a conference that you go to if you are building technology. And so,
Mm,
like, most of the audience there are they're entrepreneurs, they're academics who are working on the problems that need to be solved in order to bring greater technology out there and increase access to justice and stuff like that. So it's a conference of entrepreneurs, or of actual, like, sort of academic thinkers and doers. And so I really enjoy it. But it is not a conference of solo and small firm lawyers, or even, there's some big firm lawyers there. There's some small firm lawyers there. But to the extent there are people like Jason Velez, who because he was at TBD Law with you,
mm.
and he's actually like building document assembly bots and chat bots and things like that. So he is a small firm lawyer who is also an entrepreneur and is trying to build technology solutions for his clients. So people like that are there. It's a really cool conference, though. We go to ABA Tech Show every year, and I love ABA Tech Show. It's a big, busy, huge mess. There's probably 2,000 people there at least. And it's sort of our like Apple WWDC or
Mecca.
something like that. That's as close as we get in the legal world. um I really enjoy that. It's fun, and there are a ton of people there to meet. But I think it's so busy that it's sometimes hard to really find everybody. I never get more than about 3/4 of the way through my list of people I want to meet, and I usually find out afterwards that people were there who are friends of mine, and I didn't even see them. So it's a really busy, big thing. But it's a fun conference, and from a legal tech perspective, it's a really good one. I really think, though, if you are, if if whatever your law practice area is, there probably is at least one conference that is annual, that is kind of the conference in your practice area, and you should probably go at least once and see what you can get out of it. For consumer lawyers, the annual consumer law conference that NACA puts on is, or think the NCLC actually puts it on, but they're kind of affiliated anyway. But that was a really good, inspiring conference.
Mhm.
And so I think those are really worth going to. If you're a solo or small firm lawyer, your state may have a decent solo and small firm conference that's probably worth going to. I think anywhere that is gathering a critical mass of people who practice law similarly to the way that you do, or could inspire you to do it differently and better, those are all probably worth going to. Whether it's legal tech or subject matter area, and you're sort of, we say this is TBD law, but you are responsible for your own experience. Don't let yourself get led around by the nose. Seek out the
Yeah.
experiences and the people and the opportunities that you want to get out of it.
And that's some really great advice. So I want to talk about something that you're intimately familiar with, and that's
Bring
blogging.
it. Yeah.
Because again, and I hate to approach it first from a cynical standpoint, but I know that it's the same approach, right? The same thought process that I'm sure some solo and small lawyers have, which is that I'm busy enough right now. I have plenty on my plate, and I know that I could get myself out there by doing these different marketing efforts, one of which would be blogging. But there's, I guess, one idea is that there's so many blogs out there right now, and then the time it would take, of course.
Right.
What are your thoughts about whether or not blogging is worthwhile, and what it accomplishes?
So I'm going to be blunt for a moment, and I'm not actually trying to come down on you, but asking whether or not something works is the wrong question. Lawyers do Facebook ads work? Do Google ads work? Does Twitter work? They all work, right? Like, there are people making millions of dollars off of Twitter. There are lawyers earning millions of dollars in referrals from Facebook advertising. Everything works. It might not work for you. And so that's the catch, is not. And so there are lots of lawyers who try it once, they spend $50 on Facebook ads and they don't get a client, and they declare it a complete failure, which is a totally lazy, half-assed way to test anything. But but so with respect to blogging, yes, blogging absolutely works. You can earn a ton of business off of a blog. I'm using the word can because you have to do it well. You have to commit to it. You have to spend time doing a good job at it. You have to have a strategy. And if you have those things, then yes, it can totally work. If you do it badly and lazily, and you never update your blog, and it's ugly, and you haven't put any thought into the actual user interface of your site and building good calls to action, then you can put a ton of effort into it and nothing will happen. And so I think when you're going to approach something like blogging or Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, you have to take the time to understand how to do it well. And then you actually have to decide to invest in it in the same way that you would invest in a contingent fee case, or you would invest the time it takes to get a really big client, or whatever. It's an investment of time and money, and that's what it takes. So it totally works. And one of the benefits of doing it is that if you blog and if you do it well, it's a ton of effort up front, but it's like a snowball. And so over time, the value of the blogging that you do and of the blog that you have will really increase and pay increasing dividends. And so you'll start getting more out of it than you put into it. But it does take some time and investment up front.
All right.
You want me to just keep going? I can just keep jabbering about blogging.
Well, okay, just a couple of things. I mean, first is, if a lawyer that is a small or solo lawyer decides to write about something, what should they write about? Should it just be about their practice area, or beyond that?
I think focus is good, in part because I think you should learn about the way search engine optimization works, but you should not obsess about it. There's a website called Moz, moz.com, that has a really great beginner's guide to SEO, and you should read it. But one of the things is that will come through in it is that great SEO is a great user experience. And so a great user experience includes great content, it includes great navigation and stuff like that. So when you're trying to figure out like what to write about and how to write about, I think focus is really important for search engine optimization reasons, because Google wants to give your website a reputation for stuff in the neighborhood of criminal defense or DUI, even better. And so that way, every page on your website, every page on your blog sort of starts out with a little boost in things in the neighborhood of criminal defense. So that, I think, focus is a really important thing, and it's really good to do. Which doesn't mean you can never, post something off topic, but if you're a criminal defense lawyer, you should be writing about criminal defense. And you can start out. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to just jump on there is I think you make an excellent point that listeners, they might not have thought about doing it this way, which is kind of almost like a Moneyball approach to blog writing.
Mm-hmm.
Like what I mean by that is you actually look to see what people are searching for within your specific practice area, and then write about that.
Yeah, totally, and try to earn it. One of the things about blogging that I think is interesting is, the strategy that I had, and so Lawyerist is started out as a blog, and it really isn't a blog anymore. It's more comprehensive and more thorough than that would be, and much less sort of personal. But I also write a consumer law blog, and if you want to see it, it's still up, and I still post occasionally. It's at caveatemptorblog.com, and it's all about consumer law. And about half of my business came from that blog when I was still actively practicing, and you'll notice it's not attached to my law firm website, which I think is a better strategy. But the point is, and this is borne out by the American Bar Foundation recently did a study that the reason most people don't hire lawyers isn't cost. The reason most people don't hire lawyers is that they don't know a lawyer can help them. And that's not true for DUIs, but it's true for a lot of practice areas. And so if you think that might be your practice area, write a blog for people before they know that a lawyer can help them. And that was my goal. And that's why I brought up my consumer law blog, because I was trying to get people at both their search traffic or their word of mouth referrals from long before they realized that a lawyer could help them. And that's who I think you want to write for. And that's, for example, why I think your blog should not be on your law firm website, because you should be trying to create a publication that is attractive for people who aren't looking for a lawyer yet. So like, if I were a divorce attorney, I would be writing a blog about, I would probably be writing a blog about relationships, not about divorces, right? And how to have healthy relationships, and how to tell when your relationship is going downhill, things that you can try to resurrect a broken relationship. Those are the kinds of things I'd be writing about, because I want to be connecting with my potential clients before they are potential clients. That's one strategy. That's my strategy, because I think I want to beat all the other lawyers at the search engine game, because I don't want to be competing on Minnesota divorce attorney. I want to be competing on, I think my marriage is failing. That's what I want to win on. And so I'd much rather have a podcast about those sorts of things, or a blog about those deteriorating relationships and stuff like that, because that's where I think you can intercept your future potential clients before they even get there. And if you help save a few marriages, you're just going to get even more traffic and earn even more links from people who are happy with you because you helped them. But you're also going to find more people who need your help later on. And I think most practice areas have that, where there is a stage before people know they need a lawyer when you can still reach out to them. And sure, have information about how to file a divorce and all that kind of stuff on your site, but maybe don't focus on that. Maybe try to earn the traffic beforehand.
I think that's really fantastic advice, because I was actually just thinking about this problem the other day myself. That figure of 83% of people, I think it is, don't know that they have a legal problem. And I was beating my head against the wall thinking, well,
it's so frustrating.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. How do you get people to take advantage of the legal services if they don't know that they need legal services? And you're exactly right. If you get them in the life cycle of it, where it's very early on, where you're talking about the issue, not the problem yet, but the issue, That's how to connect. That is how you connect with those 83% of people. And
Well,
one
yeah,
of the ways
totally.
is through blogging.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, but there's this the whole Target marketing campaign is getting creepy, where like every brochure that Target sends out is custom printed for the person that it's sent to, because as they start associating your credit card number and your in-store shopping habits with your address, they can customize the mailer for you. And so, like, some dad of a teenage girl was like, dude, why are you sending a bunch of maternity clothing stuff and bottles and nursing
Oh
gear
no.
to my house? And it turns out that their machine learning algorithm had sniffed out his daughter's pregnancy before she even knew about it, because a woman who is pregnant but it hasn't occurred to her to check yet is she's not buying tampons, but she might be buying certain foods, lots
Wow,
of
that's
body
crazy.
lotion, for example. So like their house had been buying a lot more body lotion than tampons, and so the algorithm was like, I guess somebody's pregnant, let's start pitching them on pregnancy stuff. And so like, wow. But if you know that, even like you can figure that stuff out. You know what your clients are doing. Just start asking your clients, like, what were you doing 3 months before you started looking for a lawyer? Okay, start writing a website for those people.
Hmm.
And that's also why, like, this whole argument of should your blog be on your law firm website or not, every search engine optimization consultant in the world will tell you to put it on your law firm website, because you're going to earn search traffic for terms related to your law practice area. But that's not even what I was trying to do.
Right.
But again, that's my strategy. It's not the only strategy. If you really do want the Nashville DUI attorney traffic, then maybe have a different strategy. And you probably are going to write about different things. You're going to be writing about, DUI stuff and alcohol and stuff. But yeah, so have a strategy. But then once you have one, like, put the time in. It takes a lot of time to do it, but if you do it well, it's going to pay huge dividends down the road.
So what's the recommendation on that? What kind of process do you have um, to get the writing in? Because it is a discipline, it is a commitment, and so how do you do that?
I mean, writing is my day job, so I suppose it's I hope that but I guess my day job involves a lot of other stuff. Like, I do all the website programming as well, or the web development. So I code a lot, and like right now I'm elbows deep in code. So I still have to find time to write as well, and in fact, it's still hard for me. So I like to keep notes. I keep a notebook of ideas, and I dump those into Evernote, or I drop them into text documents. And so I'm always putting together ideas. And so I probably draft most of my posts over a period of weeks or months, because I flesh them out gradually. I'm like, I should write about this. And then a little while later, I'll be flipping through my notebook of ideas, and I'll add a few notes to it, or maybe I'll
Hmm.
outline it. And then later I'll say, the perfect intro, the pithy title will come to me, and I'll add that. And so a lot of times I draft gradually over time, but then you eventually just have to sit down and bang out the post. And you really only need about 350 words to call it a post. But I think if you think about it more in terms of what both Google and people are looking for, you really want to make sure that whoever came to that page had their question answered. And so when I'm thinking about what to write about, I think about things like that too. Is like, if somebody landed on this page um, because they searched for the things that would obviously get them here, would they feel like they got what they came for? And so, over time, you write that. And so I just try to flesh things out over time. And, eventually they make it into WordPress, which is the blogging platform that we use and everybody else in the world uses, basically. And over time, they make it into there, and we put the finishing touches on it and post it. And I'm a dork, so like every post on Lawyerist goes up at 6:12 in the morning, because 612 is our area code. So you could be more scientific than that, but like I get a kick out of that. I don't know if Lisa still does that. Lisa Needham is our deputy editor, and she does most of the scheduling now. But it used to be in our actual procedures manual. Is posts
Yeah.
can go up at times like 411 and 911 and 1111 and 711. because those all make me chuckle. So, but you can definitely be more scientific about that.
Or 420, like today's date.
Absolutely. If it had to go up in the afternoon, 420 is a great time to post. So
that's right.
If you're not amusing yourself, just don't even bother.
All right. So have a strategy. Yep. Dedicate yourself to it. Write well. Probably, keep a notebook of ideas. I think is a great idea to generate blog posts in the future, and that have a commitment to it, and then it'll grow over time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the commitment is key, and this is the hardest piece is don't write like a lawyer.
Well, that would be a whole other session to talk about that.
It is, but I do have a quick tip on that. And I think all lawyers should do this, but I came up with the strategy in the course of litigation. And whenever I had a motion hearing coming, I would try and schedule an appointment to get my hair cut, because my stylist is a smart woman, but she is a stylist, and we're friends now. But back then she cut my hair, and that was about the limit of our friendship. But she was very interested, or at least she was a good listener. And so she would ask me what I was working on, and I would explain things to her. And if I started losing her in my explanation of a legal issue, I would try and rework it so that I wasn't losing her, so that I could actually tell her what I was working on in a way that wasn't boring and wasn't hard to understand. Because she was smart enough to get it, but she just didn't understand all the jargon and bullshit in the way that lawyers talk. And so that was my strategy. So find somebody who's a non-lawyer, who's still smart and can get things, but just doesn't have the legal training, and practice explaining things to them in the way that they can understand. And when you write for your blog, write for that person. Keep that person in mind as your target audience. And you could also say my target reader is this person, and draw a description of them, and that's fine. But you should probably aim to make it even more understandable than that. Like if your target audience is sophisticated business readers, you still should write in a more clear way than they need you to. In the same way that my target audience as a litigator was a judge, but I need to write more simple because that judge is distracted and busy and doesn't have time to decipher my Latin all the time. So that's my quick advice on how to not write like a lawyer. It's to write for somebody else.
Well, I think that's fantastic, and I hope with the stuff that I write and that others write, they try to abide by that, because it's a good rule of thumb to be intelligible to the people you're communicating with. Mm-hmm. So turning from 300 words to 140 characters, social media is something that's pretty ingrained in society now, especially now with Twitter being a daily source of conversation. It's something that I think it has the same issues that I mentioned before. I mean, if there's a pattern in what I've been talking about, it's trying to understand how these things work from a practicing lawyer standpoint. And so if you could speak a little bit about that in terms of Twitter, Facebook, from a lawyer standpoint, do they make sense? Does it make sense to interact on all of those platforms? Are there some platforms that are maybe inappropriate for a lawyer to be communicating with potential clients on? What's the point of social media in a lawyer's practice?
I think, so there's a couple things here, and again, everything works. So this works, but I think lawyers too often approach social media in the same way that they approach sort of like a group lunch or a networking session, where they show up with their business cards and shake hands and tell everybody what they do, and they forget to be social, right? This is social media. It's not advertising media. It's not marketing media. It's social media. And you can be social whether you're Taco Bell, which has an amazing approach to Twitter, for example, or you're a police department. The Wyoming, Minnesota Police Department is in the news today because they were posting traps for 420 for April 20th of like snacks and video games. And they have a picture of a police officer holding a net hiding behind a picnic table waiting to catch the weed smokers who get the munchies.
That's so funny.
So like you can be social no matter who you are, but if you look, like lots of law firms are, Smith Law Firm on Twitter. What the heck? Nobody wants to be friends with your law firm, right? Like you can't be friends with a law firm. You can be friends with a person. You can be friends with Tom Martin, but you can't be friends with Martin Law Firm. That's just an entity. And to be frank, most law firms rank somewhere in people's opinion right up there with proctologists and dentist's office. People don't want to be friends with things like that. So, and for similar reasons. So like be yourself and be social as yourself. Don't be social as who you are. We had a great podcast with Ruth Carter recently, who is a nerd. She goes to Star Trek conventions. She does the no pants subway ride where she gets on the subway in her underwear, and she posts pictures of these things, less of the no pants, but with everything, like she is who she is. And if you hire her, you're gonna hire her because you know who she is almost entirely. And having a personality and being social on social media is fine, and you should do that. And that's the way to be effective. And the thing is, lawyers are actually weirdly shy about social media. But Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram and Snapchat are how the world socializes now. And lawyers are oddly dragging behind. And so if you aren't using at least one or two of those platforms in your day-to-day life to keep up with friends and family, then you're actually sort of socially stunted in today's society. And I think that's a little bit of a weird thing. So I don't think it's that lawyers need a good reason to be on Facebook. They need a good reason not to be on Facebook. Because seriously, like who opts out of society like that? I have friends who aren't on Facebook. Everybody does. But they have reasons for it. Most lawyers are just afraid of it, or they don't get it. And being a fuddy-duddy is not an acceptable thing when you don't know how to relate to people. And so I think you need to be on social media because you're a human being, not because you're trying to get clients. So how do you get clients? I don't know, like how do you get clients at your neighborhood barbecue? You get clients because people know who you are and what you do, and they like you because you make a mean chili. Like it's, making friends leads to clients. That's how it works. That's what networking is. And so being social in your day-to-day life is how you build a network of potential referral sources. And being social online, which is a normal part of being social in today's day and age, that will also lead to potential clients and referral sources. I think it's okay to have a Facebook page for your law firm and to use that page to invite people to see some of what your firm does. There are better and worse examples of that. Doug Sirocco will have a podcast, or just had a podcast. His firm actually built an event center next door, and so their Facebook page is full of the cool events that they host for free for the public at the event center next door, which is an awesome thing to do. But like, show people what your law firm does. Don't just post pictures of like your blog posts and your frequently asked questions about DUIs and stuff. Like, be human, like have a personality and show it to people. And I know nothing scares many lawyers more than having a personality and inviting people to see it, but like that is what you need to do. That's how social media works, and that's how you will earn business from it.
Well, I think there's no wiser words than to be human. And yeah, I mean, I could definitely vouch for that approach myself. Just on Facebook last week, got a message from a friend saying, hey, I'm thinking about setting up an estate plan. Can you help me with that, or can you talk to me about what that means? Mm-hmm. And yeah, people already know what you do. They already know that you're a lawyer and that you practice in certain areas, and these things just naturally come up from being friends and posting pictures about what's going on with your life. And so
yeah, totally. I mean, we tell people like who ask us how to find a lawyer, we'll ask somebody who to refer you to somebody who's had a similar problem. And I think we tend to think of Facebook as like, well, nobody's going to go on Facebook asking for a lawyer. Well, people do, first of all, and increasingly. But Facebook isn't a place where you go to search for a lawyer. Facebook is a place where you go to communicate with your friends and your neighbors and your family about everything going on in your life. And so, yeah, like people may not go to Facebook and search for a lawyer, but they will definitely go to Facebook and use Facebook Messenger to text their friends to ask them who they used for the divorce they had 2 years ago, or whatever's going on in their lives. So yeah, totally. It's another way to earn word of mouth referrals. Basically, is you can do advertising on it too, and that can get really sophisticated um, and can be really effective. But I think the way to use like Facebook advertising is the same way you use a blog. It's to promote things to people who you hope will one day become potential clients, which is a totally different thing.
So what do you think about, you know, some lawyers, they're so busy that when it comes to social media, they think about contracting it out and having some consultant do it for them.
I think
that's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea if you also send a body double to lunch when you schedule it with a networking contact. Like, I mean, how can you be social with somebody else, pretending to be you? That's not you. I think it's a terrible idea. Not even, it's probably ethical because you're still responsible for what you put out there. But I think you're putting your ethics into somebody else's hands if you do it, which is maybe a dumb idea. But that's not the crux of the problem. The crux of the problem is like, how do you socialize when it's not you? I think people see through that, and it's not that hard to do it on your own. And it's, just freaking get Twitter. It's not that hard. Put it on your phone and start sharing, or get Instagram and start taking pictures, sharing snapshots of your day to day life. Just like I said, this is how normal people interact today. And you can have feelings about whether or not that's healthy for society, but it is the way. Like 85% of Americans have a Facebook account. Like, if you're not on Facebook, you're actually a weird person.
I think that's Facebook's slogan, actually.
I mean, it's just true. It's so painfully normal that I don't even know what more to say about it. Like, just be on Facebook. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Okay. And in terms of a process, again, would it be similar to blogging? Do you just calendar it and make a point to check in every morning for half an hour in the afternoon? Like, how do you juggle that?
I think social media is a little bit different, actually. Like, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook right now just because the environment of Facebook got so toxic in the run up to the election, and so I've been I'm not opted out of Facebook. I still check in. I want to see what my friends and family are doing, but I've been trying to limit my Facebook time. I spend a lot of time on Twitter because I use it for news and I use it to share news. But you'll notice my personal account has been pretty inactive, and I've been focusing on the Lawyerist Twitter account for sharing things. My focus on both Facebook and Twitter has been to be social. You can use either of those platforms to broadcast things. Here's what I think about something. Here's what's going on in my life. Here's my newest blog post or my new ebook or whatever. And I've been trying to not do that, and instead to actually be social, which means I try to talk to my friends about what's going on in their lives. Or on Twitter, when people post a funny tweet or say something, I try to reply to them. So I'm shooting for a really high messaging or like engagement to publishing percentage. I want most of my interaction on Facebook and Twitter to be actual socializing with people. And that's replying to stuff, not broadcasting stuff. I recently tried Instagram on the recommendation from Aaron, who is a big Instagram fan, because sharing photos of what you and your friends are doing, it's like, think about it in like Polaroids, right? Here's what's going on in my day today. It's kind of more fun, and there's not a lot of room for politics on Instagram. It's much more of a, here's actually what's going on in my life right now. Here's some snapshots from my vacation. There are definitely people who are pretending to be somebody they're not on Instagram, just like everything else. But I like it. It's a really lightweight way to engage with people. Snapchat is, I don't get it. I think like if you're maybe you have to be a millennial to get it, but the user interface is garbage from my perspective, and it's hard. It's not all pictures of genitalia. Actually, it's a lot of people just use Snapchat to share pictures that they don't really want to become permanent. It's a really casual way to share experiences, and it's great. But I don't have a lot of friends who use Snapchat much, and I hate the app is garbage from my perspective. But people seem to love it who use it, so whatever. If you get it, use it, great. But I think maybe you have to be younger than me to get it. But pick something you like and try and figure out how other people are using it, and try to do a good job at using it in a similar way. And like I said, if you don't notice that a lot of other people are posting like, if you've been in a DUI, please hire me in their tweets, like that's a stupid tweet that should never come out of your law firm or personal Twitter account. Nobody who's had a DUI is going to see that thing. And it just makes you look clueless and out of touch. Don't be clueless and out of touch. Learn how to use it. Watch the way other people use it, and learn to socialize in the same way that you learn to socialize normally. Like pay attention and then do more of the same, and try and figure out how to do it better.
Well, I totally agree. I'd have to talk to my daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, about Snapchat because she's on there with her friends all the time.
Maybe she can write a tutorial for us to bring us olds into the fold and figure it out.
I think so. I'm going to get her right on it. All right. Well, I could talk with you forever, Sam. I want to turn to questions and see if we have one. Let's see here. Yeah, we do have a question here from Ramon Robinson. Cool. And let me read it to you, and then you can give some feedback about it. So, are there particular aspects of your humanity that you should highlight or shy away from sharing, depending on your specializations within law or law business? Where, for example, do family attorneys and traffic attorneys draw the line? I'm sure many of us have had the experience of posts that are popular, help people to like us more, etc., and other posts that unintentionally leave people thinking about it. I'm not sure if I want to interact with that person. So, how do you draw the line there?
I have a couple of thoughts. I have several thoughts on that. One is you draw the line wherever you're comfortable, but I think most lawyers get uncomfortable way too quickly. So I want to push on that a little bit. My wife and I, for example, have agreed that we will not share pictures of our kids on the internet. That's a personal choice. Lots of people do. There's nothing wrong with it. We just feel like we want to wait until they kind of get to have a say in it. I don't want to embarrass them before they're ready to be embarrassed, kind of a thing. And that's just our decision. I don't think poorly of anybody who posts their pictures of their kids, and I love seeing pictures of my friends and family's kids, so it's fine. But we've drawn the line there, in part because both of us are somewhat public. We're both lawyers, and we don't really want other people to see that stuff. But I also think, like, if somebody isn't going to like who you are if you show them on social media, then why would you want that person for a client? Like, there's more to the attorney-client relationship than that. And so, let people know who you are. Show a little personality and put it out there. Because here's the thing, human beings are exceptionally good at detecting somebody who's being a faker. That is what our brains are programmed to do. And so if you're acting all fake on social media, and then people walk into your office and you don't look like your Instagram glamour shots, or you use foul language, and you drop racial slurs when you're totally prim and proper on social media, like, people are going to pick up on that like lightning and walk and run to another lawyer. So show people who you are. And don't create a different version of yourself online. I know people who try to juggle 3 different Facebook accounts so that they can have a business Facebook account and a personal Facebook account. And I don't even know how that's possible. I'm the same person at work that I am at home, right? Like, I walk into the office, and yeah, it's a different building, but like, that's who I am. And if you don't like it, then it's probably not a good idea for us to try and do business. And the same thing goes for attorneys and clients. I think you have to stop. You can't be afraid of who you are, because if you don't like who you are, then your clients aren't going to like who you are either. And so just put it out there and see what happens. Be authentic.
Be authentic.
People will forgive you for, like, if people can forgive Donald Trump for the things that he has said and done very publicly, they can forgive you because you went to a comic convention or because you posted pictures of yourself, being a goofy dad and spraying your kid in the face with the water hose. So,
Well, those are great words of advice, Sam, and I think I
we'll
think
see.
yeah,
Come back to me and tell me how that one played out.
but I think be authentic is 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 really great advice, and also to just have the right mentality, the right mindset when you approach all of these things, conferences, blogging, and social media. Just have an open mind, and it's about making friends.
Well,
Uh,
like Tom, you posted a picture of your daughter. You shared it. You shared your daughter's video where she was demonstrating a baking toy or something.
yeah,
And I watched that thing, and I don't even know why. Because I guess I was curious, like maybe my girls would like this stuff because I've got two girls too, and it doesn't make me like you less. It makes me like you more because it shows to me that you're a real person and not like an alabaster statue of someone in a suit. Like it's nothing makes me think that you're less professional because you actually have a home life. And in a way, I think this sort of is a little bit of a kind of our double standard of men and women. Like everybody asks women about how they balance their family with work, and nobody asks men about that. And so men are free to pretend as if we don't have a life outside of work, and you screw that. Like I'm a dad, and I talk about being a dad, and if I were actively promoting a law practice right now, I'd talk about that too, right? Like I love the non-professional parts of my life, and it only makes me more human, and I think it makes people more likely to hire me. And that's what Ruth found in talking, being out about who she is and what she thinks and what she does outside of work time. And I think the same is going to be true for you. Nobody expects you to be just a portrait of a lawyer. They expect you to be a person who puts on the lawyer suit when they need to.
Sam, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your thoughts about all of these, you know, different areas. I know that these are things where you live and work, and there's no better authority to talk to than you.
Well, thanks. And if people have follow-up questions or whatever, shoot me an email from our contact page on Lawyerist or hit me up on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to chat more.
Cool. Well, thank you all for attending our teleconference today. Maximize your exposure with conferences, blogging, and social media with Sam Glover. As a reminder, if you haven't already, remember to register for GLSA's Scottsdale conference. It's promising to be a good time, and if you register before April 26th, you'll save $100. And so if you're interested in learning more about the conference, you can call the GLSA staff at area code 312-988-5752. Again, that's 312-988-5752. Again, this is Tom Martin. I just want to thank GLSA for sponsoring. Remember, GLSA is just a good way for solos and small firms to increase their business. Check us out at glsaonline.org. Thanks again, Sam.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. See you next month.
Yep.